Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to present to all of you Miss Erika Sanchez. Erika, thank you so much for joining the Respect and Pray Show. How are you today?
I am very well, Mike. Thanks for having me. I'm excited for us to sit down and chat and catch up. 'Cause I feel like it's been a while, so this is a nice treat for me.
Yes, for sure, for sure. And for those of you who are watching this, I met Erika basically shortly before the pandemic, 2019. It
Yeah.
was a kind of like a fundraiser event for the Inwood Film Festival.
Mhm.
And that was the first and only time that I saw Erika. But here we are 6 years later, even though it's through Zoom, but still, there was just something
Right.
about Erika that struck me as a person that is professional, um, person with a class act, and et cetera, et cetera. Is I'm always following Erika, what she's doing. And but anyways, I'm gonna go straight into it. So Erika,
Yeah, let's do it.
aside from both of us being from Upper Manhattan, you might not know this, but we're also CCNY alumni as well.
Oh, you're
So
CCNY alum as well? Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
class of 2014, and I believe you're a class of 2006, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So I want to start there because CCNY, I was never a person that was a school spirit person,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't until after I graduated from City College that I fully admire and appreciate everything that they did for me and everything that I
Same.
got out of that. So my question to you is, what does CCNY mean to you? And the public relations advertising journey all began there?
Yeah, so actually my PR journey began before CCNY. So I transferred into City College, I want to say a little over halfway through my college schooling. So I started off at Ithaca College upstate, and I was there for like 3 years, something like that. And halfway through that time there is when I took a PR class and an advertising class, and then I fell into that there because I was like, you know what? I like the idea of telling stories and kind of connecting people. Like if I could do that as like for a living, that would be so cool, right? So that's kind of where that started. So again, I was there for like 3 years, and then I transferred back to the city. And again, I kind of fell into PR at CCNY. Um, so I honestly, it wasn't like my first choice of schools. I didn't know that they had a communications program. So like just kind of researching and looking where I would transfer, then I found out that CCNY has an ad PR program, and I was like, okay, perfect. Went in, like everything was very easy, very smooth transition in. Um, but it was after I graduated that I made the most connections and relationship to professors at CCNY. So after that, CCNY has been a place that I go back to as part of like their internship program. I've worked with so many students that have been interns both at a PR agency that I used to work at for many years, and both at my current agency that I co-founded. It's been 10 years now, so it's been a long time, but yeah, that's been somewhere I've gone back to. It's also been somewhere where I've connected as part of the Hispanic PR Association. So I'm on the board of that organization. I've been connected to them for, I want to say, over 10 years now. So through that organization, I've been able to go back and work with professors and with students at the school.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I was gonna go into that. I saw recently that you guys celebrated 10 years since you're the
Yeah,
co-founder of Braid Communications.
yeah,
So how did Braid Communications got started? And yeah, how did it got started?
yeah. So I always knew since I was a little girl, I always knew that I wanted to own my own business. So I've always wanted to do things my way, work with people that I want to work with. I just like that control of over the things in my life, right? So I always knew that. Um, then I have a friend that I met at my previous PR agency, and her and I were always talking about starting an like agency. Each of us were going to start our own thing, and then there came a time where there were layoffs, and we both got laid off. And we were like, you know what? Let's do this together. Let's start it off together and kind of see where it goes. Um, and that's where that blossoms from. And then 10 years later, I'm I'm with the agency alone, but her and I are still her and I are still friends. We're still colleagues. She helps me out when I just need some like advice or like brainstorming and stuff like that. But it's been an interesting 10 years, and I feel like there's still so much for me to learn. There's still so much for me to accomplish, especially in a field like communications, because things change so drastically. I want to say it's been like 18 years since I started in PR. And in those 2 decades, it's like night and day, just with technology alone, with the way people consume media. Like when I started off, there was no social media. There was no social media. There really wasn't like Facebook or nothing, not TikTok, not Instagram. I feel like a few years into maybe like a few years into my careers when Twitter started coming up. So like just things like that have changed so drastically. So I feel like there's so much more for me to accomplish. And like these 10 years is really just a starting point.
So you've seen the evolution of social media
Yes.
in this field. When you saw this evolution, did you went about it in terms of it's an interesting challenge, I'm gonna get on board? Or were there were times that you felt that this is just too much, it's too overwhelming. How am I able to accomplish this, or how I'm able to master this or that?
Mhm.
So they had like a mix of both feelings, mix of both, or it was just one over the other.
Yeah, no, it definitely started off as something additional to like our programs for our clients and stuff like that. And at first it was very manageable because it was very much just Facebook for our clients, and it was just, an extension of a website and just building community. So that seemed kind of seamless and just, it was like a natural progression. Same as Twitter. But then a few years into it, it was more of the content that was going in, um, a lot more of like the quick videos and all these things. Attention spans got like shorter, so it really developed into its own thing, and that I feel like that's where it became overwhelming when just like content creators and like just the content of social media kind of took off. And even now, like that's like a totally separate part of like the communications and the PR plan, right? Because you can literally spend the whole day on social media looking at the trends, creating content, posting the content, engaging with your community. It's its own job at this point. And even the way like I mentioned a little while ago, even the way we consume media is totally different, right? Because we don't necessarily even have cable anymore. Like people just watch TV on their phones. They watch TV through an app. The news is on your phone, and even though you still follow like traditional media, all of their news stories, all of their segments are in bite sizes on social media as well. So it's been very interesting, specifically in broadcast, how things have changed. And even avenues like podcasts, right? It allows us to have these kind of conversations that we wouldn't have 10, 15 years ago, right? We wouldn't be able to kind of have this platform and have these conversations the way we are now.
What is your number one go-to podcast for public relations? And what is the your main go-to news outlet when you go to your phone?
So I don't have a podcast that I listen to for PR and comms, but I do have a social media platform that I follow, and it's PR Girl Manifesto. And she just creates fantastic content, like that's so relatable. And it started off just really small, and she's been doing this for 10 years as well. And it's just really taken off, and she's really become a voice of just being conscious in your work, especially in a time like now. Like, you can't just ignore what's going on. You can't bury your head in the sand, and like that has to be included as part of the work, right? So she's somebody that I love following. And then regular news outlets, it varies. It varies, but I feel like social media is kind of where I get most of my news from.
So us, being Latinos, when it comes to advertising, public relations, the whole entire Department of Media and Communications, do you have a strong support system, especially from a family standpoint?
From a professional standpoint, I do have a nice space with the Hispanic PR Association. Um, Again, that's an organization where I met so many people. The people that I've met in the organization have connected me with people outside in so many different aspects, like in agency life, in-house with brands, with like other communicators. It's really been really a real great support system for me. And, I've even gotten business referrals from colleagues in the organization, and just me having that as part of my background has opened a lot of doors for me with clients as well. In the family front, I feel like sometimes they still don't understand what it is that I do in communications, but I do have a nice, solid support system with my family in terms of business. Because it can be hard, it can be very lonely. And knowing that my family supports me, like, I don't have to worry about getting that support somewhere else, and I could just focus on my work. And I feel like also, like, Latinos, specifically Dominicans, are very much like entrepreneurial, and like we just have that entrepreneurial spirit. So I feel like that's kind of a natural fit too.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. So Erica, I usually do this with all my guests who come to Respect and Praise Show. So we're gonna play a game, something short and simple.
Okay.
So are you ready?
Yes.
All right, cool. Favorite breakfast meal?
Pancakes.
Which kind specifically?
Chocolate chip.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's funny. I said it right away, but these questions were not pre-planned. It's just really my favorite. I love chocolate chip pancakes.
Nice. So, which music genre you prefer listening to no matter how you're feeling? Merengue or bachata?
Bachata. Yep.
All
A
right.
lot of people get surprised by, but yeah, my go-to is bachata.
I mean, hey, you'd be surprised. So, that's good anyway. So, I mean, hey, both genres are great, but bachata's bachata. So,
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, that leads me to a follow-up. Which one do you prefer? Classic 90s bachata or the generation that changed everything, which is Rostar Aventura? So, which one of those generations do you prefer?
Classic 90s. I like Aventura. I appreciate what they do, what they've done for the genre, but it's not the same.
Yeah, isn't for me personally is not the same, and I'm biased because I grew up. That's the first thing I listened, like that era of the 90s.
Right.
In house parties and things like that. So yeah, I have a strong I have a strong admiration for
Right.
that decade. So
Yeah. I mean, it took me a long time to get on board with Aventura. I was just like, no, no. And it's like what is it, the Kings, right? I was like, the what? No, absolutely not.
yeah, like hey,
It
God
took
bless.
me a while.
Yep, yep. God bless them all the success that they've had. And I remember like it was yesterday when they got started, when they came onto the scene. But yeah, I was one of those people that I was so like
Mm-hmm.
against that whole label of the
Yeah.
KOB. But
Yeah, I know.
hey,
I was against that too, but I was like, you know what? At least they're like, again, they progressed so far, and like bachata is everywhere now. But I'm still a '90s bachata girl at heart.
amen to that. So okay, name me your top three travel destinations that you want to cross off your bucket list.
Ooh, let's see. Japan. I want to go to Japan. I want to go to Belize. And let's see, what's the third one? And Chile.
Nice, nice. Books or podcast?
It depends. This one is this is not so much a closed answer. It's very much an open-ended question. I feel like it depends on my mood. Because sometimes I do like to just kind of throw on the podcast, especially I guess if I'm like on the subway, I'll do a podcast. If I'm home, I'll do a book.
Okay, okay. Uh, make your own home cooked meal or go out to your favorite restaurant.
This one is hard too because I do like going out to eat. Um, but if I had to choose one, like right now, make a decision. One, I guess a home cooked meal.
Same
It's not
here.
the same.
Yeah, it's
It's
not
not
the
the
same.
same as going out to a restaurant. Even like I feel like even when you go like to a Dominican restaurant and have like comfort food, like a sancocho at a restaurant is not the same as a sancocho made at home.
Yep, nothing
It's
beats a
just not
homemade.
the same.
Mm-hmm. Last but not least, name me five people. It could be any industry, yours, your industry, your field, or any industry in general. Name me five people dead or alive that you would like to have a sit down conversation with and just pick their brain about anything. Who would it
Mm.
be?
Let me think about this. I have to think about it for a minute. I mean, I feel like one person that comes to mind is Barack Obama. And I'll tell you why. Not so much to talk about politics and policy and stuff like that, but just kind of navigating life, right? Just how, like, how do you go to this huge office, this huge position, and how do you balance, right? How do you balance your life? How do you push forward, and how do you kind of block out the noise, right, from the struggles, right, and from all of the prejudices and racism? Like, how do you block that out? So I think that would be a good conversation to have. And then I don't know. I would have to think of other ones, but I feel like that's the first one that comes to mind.
You're missing four more.
I know.
Just throw anything, anyone that comes to mind.
I'm trying to think. It's just so hard. Like trying to think
What about
of
entertainment
like
aspect?
entertainment wise.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I I'm totally obsessed with Madonna, so that's somebody that I would love to meet and talk to.
There
Um,
we go.
Trying to think what else. I would have loved to like sit down and have a meal with Anthony Bourdain.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That
That's a good
that
one.
that would be. It seems like that would be kind of fun and interesting.
That's a good one.
Two more. Oh, this one just popped into my head. Eartha Kitt. Eartha Kitt would be someone that's kind of interesting as well. And you know who too kind of just popped into my head? Lin Manuel. I've seen him so many times, like in the neighborhood. And I know like, back in the day, like in apartment 78. I know.
Wow, wow. I haven't thought about Promise 70 in a long time. Wow, you
I
brought it back. Wow.
remember just popping in, and like I think this was like right at the beginning of In the Heights. I'm not even sure if it was on Broadway yet, but I remember seeing him like happy hour a couple of times there. But at this point, and then especially after that 10-year anniversary of Hamilton, I'd love to sit down and talk with him.
Nice, nice. Well, there we go. We got our five
Yeah,
right
we did
there.
it. We got
We did it. We did it. So to wrap it up, Erica, what's the best advice you would like to give to anyone that has interest in advertising and public relations?
the best advice that I could give is to one, find your tribe, find your community within the industry, right? If you don't know where to start, go to like alumni association, right? If you're still a student, then go to school, go to your network, like your classmates are your colleagues, basically, right? And join professional organizations because that's, all it takes to meet one person in the industry already, and that person connects you, and from there the connections grow. And then something else that I think is just important across the board is something that you and I were talking about briefly right before we started the podcast, right? And it's just kind of being present and slowing down, right? We're so much in a point in time where everything is urgent. Everything had to happen, not even yesterday. Everything had to happen like a week ago. And everything is go, 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 go. But that's not sustainable. So my best advice is just to take things slow, really focus on what you're doing. If what you can do is 2 to 3 things at a time, then that's what you can do. If someone else can do 5 to 10 things at a time, good for them. Don't worry about what they're doing and worry about what you're doing.
Great advice. And where can we follow you and your work on social media?
So you can follow my agency. It's at Braidcom it's BraidComm. And you can follow me personally at Erika Sanchez NYC.
And this
And
is
I'm
on
mostly on
Instagram?
Instagram, yeah.
All right. Is Instagram the only thing you're on? No LinkedIn or Twitter?
I am on LinkedIn. Thank you. That's an important one to have too, LinkedIn. So you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Those are probably the top 3 that I'm always on.